intro. What is up, wrestling fans? And of course, it is to that time of the week for the NI Wrestling team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of NI Wrestling Presents Wrestling Night Live. And we are live on the Nerd Initiative Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, X, all the great places you find us live. Of course, I am your host. My name is Rich. I'm also the head of NI Wrestling and a member of the NI Ballpin, of course, doing all great comic things. Joining me in the co-pilot's chair, she is the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. She is the guru of cosplay. And also she is, most importantly for the show, a pro grappling aficionado. It is the first lady of NI Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Miss Sammy. How are you today?
You know, we might have to add another one to the list, and that would be the Hangover Queen.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oopsie.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you left the door open, so why the hell not? Of course, Sammy visited me at Sci-Fi Horror Fest. If you remember last week, I was live from a hotel room in Vernon, New York, because I was doing Sci-Fi Horror Fest, and tonight, obviously, back home, and Sammy came to visit, and yeah, maybe drank a little bit too much and missed a lot of the festivities for the con, but she did come down. She was in cosplay, and you did get to sit on Caroline Williams' lap.
Bingo! Achievement unlocked. It was absolutely amazing. She's such an amazing person. Yeah,
and we have this all on video. All on video, by the way.
Things happen.
So with that being said, it was a good time. It was a very good time. Good times were had by all, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight, and I'm excited to be with everybody today. So before we dive in, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this out of the way first and foremost before we dive in, before everything goes down. We're going to do the show a little differently. It's going to be, of course, talking about things pro wrestling. We got talks about Wrestlepalooza. We got talks about the Peacock deal, ESPN deal, all that happy jazz. Of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We crowned a winner of the G1 Climax. We're going to talk about that. But we're also going to be lumping together the pre-show extravaganza for AEW x NJPW's Forbidden Door. Reason why we're not doing a separate show is simple. I'm going to just kind of throw it out there in a nutshell. Last week, I got some bad news. A family member had passed away, and I have to now go to North Carolina tomorrow, and I will be gone all weekend. So there's really no time for me to edit and do a second video to get that up. I hope everybody understands. But it's just kind of how it works. So unfortunately, we will not be doing a pre-show extravaganza separately. But however, we're still going to give it to you tonight on Wrestling Night Live. So we're still going to get our picks out there for the 9 matches announced as of tonight. So with that being said, let's move on to some business before we jump into the fun of talking pro grappling. And first and foremost, make sure you go over to the place that powers the place, if you will. That's right, nerdinitiative.com, the home of pop culture positivity. There you can find out about movies, comics, TVs, wrestling, and more. And if you would like your fandom represented at nerdinitiative.com, just let us know, because we're always adding new things and everything going on. So join the revolution of pop culture positivity over at nerdinitiative.com. If you are watching us on the Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Twitch, thank you so much. Make sure you're following us on all those great sites. Whenever we go live, those videos are there. However, if you're watching us over on YouTube, and even better so, you're already got part of this done, because we need you to go over after the live and make sure you smash the subscribe button over at that YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or a brand new video comes up. And last but not least, tap the thumbs up to let the fine folks in charge of Nerd Initiative know you want more pro wrestling and other content on the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. So, Sammy, we have now got the stuff out of the way, and let's talk about probably the biggest news in wrestling that lumps a bunch of things together. And that, of course, is we assumed that the show that was taking place on September 20th was going to be called Bad Blood. Why wouldn't we assume that? Because last year in October, we had the return of Bad Blood. But surprise, surprise, the show title, first and foremost, has been changed as WWE Wrestlepalooza. Will be going down Saturday, September 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Indianapolis, Indiana. And of course, this is going to be going up against AEW All Out head-to-head, counter programming at its finest. And if you look down at the bottom, here in the States, streaming exclusively on ESPN Direct. Also, allegedly, it will be airing on ESPN. I don't know if the full event will be on ESPN or just part of the event, but allegedly it will also be on ESPN proper, as this will be the kickoff to WWE's relationship with ESPN. Already announced for the show, one last time, John Cena will be in Indianapolis, Indiana, as he will take on Brock Lesnar. We assumed that was going to be the match. Now we are 100% guaranteed that is the match. With that being said, Sammy, the news, first of all, WrestlePalooza is an old ECW pay-per-view name. So there's layers to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they are counter-programming AEW, sorry. They know Tony Khan's a big ECW fan, much like myself. So not surprised they're using the WrestlePalooza term. For anybody out there that goes, well, they don't care about them, and this is not a direct shot. It is. It is. And I've said before, competition is what you bring. You wanted competition, you're getting it. I'm not against it. I said last week that I think AEW needs to put its best foot forward so they can counter, the best way to counteract this is to win. But yeah, Sammy, thoughts on just the show title and knowing that that's the first show that's going to be part of the ESPN deal?
Yeah, it's surprising. This deal got announced, about a little over a week ago now, where we started hearing the reports of it, and we've learned a lot more. So it seems like WWE TKO strategically held more PLEs this year to burn through their commitment to Peacock. We kind of all thought, originally that this would kick off in the new year. Nope, it kicks off now because they burned through. I guess they didn't have they had a quantity commitment, and they have completed that. So and they get to start making all of this money with the Disney Corporation a lot sooner. This whole story, this whole partnership with Disney and everything, and even just WWE in general over the past several weeks, really leading back even before the Seth Rollins injury, it's really allowed the people with their tinfoil hats to kind of run wild here and be right. So here we go again with this. So they burned through their PLEs with Peacock so they could jump into this deal and start making that big bucks. And $30 a month, we talked about it. It's a tall order. And then the counter programming right to AEW. Come on, you can see that's strategic. WrestlePalooza. Tony Khan is a ECW fan. There's a lot of ECW alumni working for AEW. AEW PLEs tend to have some type of over-the-top hardcore type matches, and you want to associate your counter programming with that as well, instead of being, hey, we're doing the show that doesn't have that. No, you're going to go right after it. So I would assume as the booking gets closer, we'll hear of some over-the-top, maybe hardcore kind of matches. So we said it. We went on our soapboxes about it last week, and we'll do it again, for the next several weeks. AEW, here's your chance to step up and shine. ESPN is going to be $30 a month for most people in the United States, and AEW PLE's pay-per-views are $50. So, yeah, it's a $20 swing, but that cost is kind of getting there. It's getting pretty close for people. So, here's your chance to really go out there. And you've always said you're the competition. Now WWE is taking you seriously. So time to go out there and really show them what you can do. And we've seen it. AEW can put on amazing shows. Their TV, their writing, their storytelling, their presentation, everything on the TV side of things has completely turned around. It is a significantly improved product than where it was, I don't know, this time a year ago, or maybe even a little further back. The PLEs have always delivered. Sometimes a little, in our opinion, can drag on a little too long, but they always over-deliver. There's always some amazing matches and some amazing in-ring storytelling. So here's your shot. The big bad, gorilla is going to be right there. So time to go right at him.
Universal, yes. How are you today? So here's the thing. Let's just throw it out there. AEW, if you want to, like, it's not time to risk it. If you want to go fight a bully, you want to go back at it, punch him in the mouth. Put the best foot forward and all out. We said it last week. I'm not going to beat the drum over and over again. I told Tony Khan, hey, whatever you have to do, maybe go to WBD and say, hey, this is the time that maybe we, you don't have to do it every time, but maybe this is the time that we show All Out as a free as long as you have HBO Max. And I even said, hey, hell, make HBO Max for free for a week just to get the numbers in. Because very realistically, as you pointed out, Sammy, this is going to be $30 price tag to have this service from ESPN. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, and it's going so far. So is what do we have here? Tiago has announced that Brock versus Cena will be a last man standing match. So Sammy is right. TKO has fired the first shot. That's true. They absolutely have. But I mean, we're also staring down, like I said before, it's not like AEW is not in a bad spot here. They're sitting on possibly the return of Edge and Christian, or Cope and Christian, which I know that they have a match before then, but we're talking about a big time one in their hometown of Toronto against the FTR. I mean, that's a big match. You're sitting on possibly either Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm again, or Mercedes Moné versus Athena. Either way, it's a great main event quality match in the women's division. You're sitting on, a litany of matches you can go with Hangman Adam Page or MJF as the world champion. So coming out of Forbidden Door, it's not like they don't have options. They have a lot of great story options, and they have time. So they have a lot of stuff that they can do. So this could be a very interesting day. September 20th can go down as one of the greatest wrestling days ever for fans, especially because you might get two amazing shows. And I mean, obviously WWE is rumored to be pushing Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes back for WrestlePalooza. So you have that big title match, and also allegedly maybe CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in some kind of gimmick match, one-on-one for the World Heavyweight Championship. So you have all that. You have it all known. And it goes in there. And yes, Universal Tigo has made known that they want to make TNA the direct competition for AEW. They are not buying it, but they are assisting Anthem. Yeah, I see that they're doing that, but at the same point in juncture, TNA is still TNA. As much as I love TNA, TNA is still TNA. And AEW can swing that anytime. AEW has quite possibly any time of a swing, if you will. So I think this is not a bad thing for business. I think this ESPN deal, like I said, on the bank account wise, is a great piece of business for WWE. But when are you pricing your fans out? Fans who have become...
That's honestly the math I'm trying to do right now. I apologize if I...
Yeah, that's fine. Take your time. But when do you price your fans out? Because we talked about it. $30. Most fans have been used to paying $10 or less. Now, mind you, we are the first to say VPN is your friend, because you just do Netflix and say you're somewhere else. You know what I mean? I'm not against the major corporation. I don't really see that as a bad thing. But then the ticket prices came out for WrestlePalooza, and oh boy. And then the initial WrestleMania front row prices, mind you, this is part of the partnership that they have where you get that all access there, right? Priority Pass. But the Priority Pass is like the first row for both nights of WrestleMania is $70,000 for the experience. $70,000. That's WrestleMania, obviously, but we're looking at a few $1,000s for front row tickets to WrestlePalooza as well. And even the cheap seats aren't cheap. So at what point, now, mind you, granted, we've said this before, people complain about it, but here's the thing. They're still selling plenty of tickets. So obviously they haven't hit the most uncomfortable spot, or else it was. But you have to wonder when that might tip. Obviously it isn't right now, but it's an interesting time out there. It's a very, very interesting time. We're going to talk about it later, but AEW, 18,000 plus tickets sold for the O2 coming up for Forbidden Door. Obviously TNA is doing very well is in sales, and WWE is still doing well regardless of price. So
just doing a little bit of quick math. Last year, AEW held 9 pay-per-views. 9 times $50, you're at $450 for the year. This ESPN service is $30 a month, 12 months, $360, so that's a $90 swing. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot more, WWE shows on there. So that from a value standpoint, obviously you're going to get more for less money. But at the end of the day, it's a $90 swing for the biggest shows of the year between the two companies.
Yeah. So yes, I understand how the ticket prices works. It 65% less dates, but once again, eventually you'll hit a part where you outprice your hence what the UFC did. Now, mind you, they got a gigantic bag from Paramount, but the reason why they were going after that bag is because their pay-per-view sales were down because people were priced out of the pay-per-views. That's bottom line. They just found a sucker who would take the bag.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all that it is. And by the way, the less people going equals higher ticket prices. That's not necessarily how that works, by the way.
No,
that's a fool. By the way, that's a fool's errand.
Yeah, there's
been fool's
plenty
errand is because guess what happens when people don't buy the tickets anymore.
There's been plenty of times in wrestling where there have been comp tickets way outpacing the amount of sales, ticket sales, and then those markets get used to that, and then they don't like when the ticket, when the business gets hot again, they don't like paying for the tickets because they're used to getting them for $5-10 free. So,
can you say AEW?
Yeah, AEW ran into that, and
that's the exact problem AEW ran into. Because they comped the tickets because they were too many tickets, and theirs was a little different. The reason their tickets were because they were having smaller, they were booking bigger venues that they couldn't fill. And now that they're booking smaller venues,
the same arenas too often as well.
Oh yeah, well that's been a problem the whole time. But and once again, like you said, they have accustomed fans to go, oh, if I wait till the last minute, I can get tickets dirt cheap. I mean, I remember going on StubHub and seeing tickets first row elevated for All Out last year at $30 day of show. Like face value of that ticket was not $30. And it was $30 day of show. So like you just get accustomed to it. Once again, that could happen now. That could I love it. Ken M, All Out StubHub. It's true. We thought about it because it's cheaper to buy it for the pay-per-view. But in the long run of things, like I said, no matter how you cut it, I don't wish ill will on anybody, but it's just like at some point in juncture, like there's a lot of these deals going on, man. You wonder when it's going to tip the other way, which hopefully it doesn't. But there's been some subpar PLEs that I was not paying $30 for that I now have to pay $30. So I think this will make WWE either have to step up and give the value, or I think it could impact their bottom line a little bit. I understand they're guaranteed money from ESPN, but let's be honest, it's going to start to affect other things, gate and et cetera, et cetera. So
merch, all that. Yeah.
It's either going to be the greatest thing for us fans because they're going to put out some great shows, or it's going to be starting the slippery slope. The good news is there's a lot of elder wrestling out there. So in this case, it's not like we're falling on our faces before. But this is kind of like one of those tipping zones where if you don't want to give AEW, and I understand them going after them for a multitude of reasons. And by the way, don't be fooled. The most reason that WWE is competing with AEW right now is because of the price of wrestlers. They're tired of paying people over exorbitant amounts because Tony Khan has paid a little bit more. So therefore, they have to offer a little bit more. So when you hear the talks of Chris Jericho maybe returning to World Wrestling Entertainment, which I would assume will be true, they're going to have to pay him a lot more money than they possibly would have wanted to in the past to come in and wave, do a victory lap, if you will, wrestle a bunch of guys that we want to see one final time, go in the Hall of Fame, call it a day. That's what I would assume would happen if Jericho comes back.
Yeah.
So like, once again, though, you could have paid him a lot less in the past, a lot less. Now you're going to pay a lot more. The same thing with any other talent. They paid a lot of talent a lot of money because if not, AEW will pay them. And that's how business works. So that's why you would want to hurt your competition, is so that way you can bring down your costs slightly. But once again, I don't know if they've really planned the long game, because we said it before. AEW is not ran like a normal business. The owner's got deep pockets, and he does not care how much money he spends.
Cool.
So, I mean, Shad Khan famously said, when they asked him about Tony Khan spending money on wrestling, he said, well, my son might as well spend some of my money while I'm still alive. It's in the pudding. As part of this, though, it's going to bring us in. We're going to segue the Peacock. So you had mentioned earlier, part of this ESPN deal, we found out that there might have been something a little more nefarious going on, as WWE had given out a lot more PLEs to get their deal done quicker. Obviously, the move to 2-day SummerSlam wasn't just because, hey, we wanted 2-day SummerSlam. Evolution coming back wasn't, hey, it's just time for women's wrestling to come back. Saturday Night's Main Event returning wasn't just, Saturday Night's Main Event's coming back. These got to all count against the bottom line, which helped expire the Peacock deal as far as content sooner. However, they're not done with the Peacock. The deal still goes on, I do believe, until 2028 for certain things, including NXT PLEs will still be on the Peacock. Also, we found out Saturday Night's Main Event will no longer be on NBC. Saturday Night's Main Event will be exclusively on the Peacock, which hopefully for us, that means no more commercials, which I doubt. It's still going to probably be slow, but, fingers crossed. And last but not least, they're still going to be airing SmackDown replays as well as other WWE original content. So there we go. Your thoughts on the Peacock part of the whole streaming thing, Sammy?
You kind of feel bad for Peacock because that whole NBC Universal group has had such strong ties with WWE, for so many years, and that relationship's slowly coming to an end here. Do we really think that when this partnership ends that it'll get a re-up? No, it's going to go out to the highest bidder, whoever that may be. So, I think a lot of people over the next coming weeks and months that were wrestling fans, they're just going to be canceling that Peacock subscription because some Saturday Night Main Events that haven't really performed or over-delivered, and some of the other original content that, it's cool, we like it, but really hasn't latched on to, grab people to where they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to pay for Peacock for this, where it's more like, this is kind of cool, whatever, and then you kind of forget about it. I feel bad for Peacock because everything was strong and maybe not so much now.
Agreed. I do want to, I will talk about this Universal. Roman isn't leaving. He might take time off, but if you think he's coming off of a WWE contract, that's insane. Cena is out. Naomi is not gone. Naomi's still under contract. She's just out for being pregnant. So she's not gone. And Punk is really not going anywhere. It's kind of funny that you would think that because he's being groomed to be in charge of the PC. So that doesn't really free anything up. Jericho probably will sign a 1-year deal. So there's that. But I mean, a lot of that other stuff is just not going to happen.
Yeah, no,
I can promise you Roman's going nowhere.
Yeah, Naomi's one of those classic examples where you like tack on the time at the end of the contract for the time missed or whatever. Yeah, classic example of that. So
it just happened to Danhausen.
Yeah,
Danhausen just had that happen in AEW, which is what, but it's not even that. Naomi is what, but it is. It's going to be.
I don't think Danhausen had a kid though.
No, Danhausen did not have a kid. Danhausen is just not being used on television.
Well, along with a lot of other people, but hey, they get a paycheck.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of those things that, and you can disagree. That's fine to disagree. But if you think Roman Reigns is not going to be under some kind of WWE contract, that is kind of, yeah. I don't think we'll ever see a day. I know everybody, the guy gets to show up to work when he wants. He gets paid a lot of money.
Right.
And let's be honest.
Yeah. Someone like
Paul Heyman said it best.
Yeah, Cena's immediately going to sign a Legends contract the second his current one expires,
Like I said, you can believe that he's going to Hollywood full time. That's fine. It's the dirt sheets. I'll love to talk about that. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and even if he does, he'll have a Legends contract.
Lincoln dropping in. What's up, Link? I got a whole hell to sell you if you think Roman is leaving. Like, it's true. Roman might go and do more movies, but think about it. Roman will still be under a WWE contract so he can show up when he shows up. Like, he's doing that now.
He's doing
that now. That's just what he does. Like, and by the way, he's earned that currency. He's earned that currency because if you listen to Paul Heyman on Ariel Helwani, what coincided with everything taking off for WWE in the TKO era was Roman Reigns. Like, Roman became the biggest box office draw, and that you're not going to let you don't punch a treasure horse in the mouth. So if he doesn't want to show up but only 5 dates, then that's what he'll have on a contract. You know, that's bottom line. Same with The Rock. I mean, The Rock is on the board of directors, but he is technically contracted to show up to work occasionally. You know what I mean?
We've talked about that before, how WWE has really worked hard to get other people besides The Rock at that level. So when you have to do that break glass in case of emergency, you have more names on the list to call, you know, instead of just The Rock. You have Roman, you know, you have the Rock, you have a Stone Cold, you have an Undertaker now. Like there's a bunch of
those legend deals.
Break glass. Yeah.
Legend deals are insane. Ken, Roman fears Bronson Reed. He's tired of getting the sneakers. By the way, that's the reason why they're gonna have to pay him more, Ken. You got to replace those sneakers that are keep getting stolen. Like, damn it. Tell the tribal thief to stop stealing shoes for his Shula Fala because it's going to cost TKO more money in negotiations with one Mr. Roman Reigns. But let's segue that, by the way, because John Cena. I like this picture of John Cena, by the way.
It's a good one.
Because it is very apropos. John Cena is finishing up. We all know that. And we all knew it, but it has now been confirmed. His last appearance will be in December at Saturday Night's Main Event live from Boston, Massachusetts. That'll be the final time we see John Cena on the farewell tour, which we've been preparing for a long time now. This has been a good year run. Actually, technically, we've known about this for what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
When he first kind of like gave the inkling. Which once again, if any wrestler deserved to have a year's final run to do whatever they wanted, it would be John Cena. You know, maybe not as a wrestler in the ring work, but definitely a GOAT in his own right. No problems with it. Big matches coming up. We talked about him and Brock coming up in Indianapolis. Obviously, before then, we got in a week or so, Paris, where he'll take on Logan Paul. Any guesses, Sammy? And chat, want to chime in? Who do you think he will fight his last match against in Boston, Massachusetts on Saturday Night's Main Event? Who's the retirement match?
Yeah, that's a really good question at this point. He's checked off a lot of names off the list, you know, of people that we suspected he would, you know, have matches against. So at this point, I don't think it's going to be some sort of a younger talent. I think if we were going to do the younger talent thing, we really would have done it during his title run. You know, that way he could get those kind of cheap wins, and then, you know, but the other competitor goes over, you know, in the match anyway, in terms of, you know, not being hurt by taking a loss. I currently on the roster, I really don't know, you know. Carmelo
Hayes and Open Challenge. I like it. Book it now. I you know what? I can dig that. I'm a big fan of doing Dominic Mysterio. Let Dirty Dom cheat to win against John Cena in his last match. Oh, Lincoln, Chris Jericho, maybe. That would be allegedly around the time that Chris Jericho's contract is up. So if he came right over, that is a possibility. Also would make sense in his career. I'm with you, Sammy. I don't know if you're going to do it, even though I would love Dom Mysterio. Yeah. I don't know if you're going to necessarily do a somebody who's a young wrestler here in this case. I think you might go for the big bucks, no whammies. Mind you, it is Saturday Night's Main Event. It's not a pay-per-view. But, I mean, I could see that being a place that you put him versus Rock. Although, if you're asking me how I would like the storybook end, they've already kind of ruined it a little bit, because I would have picked either Randy Orton or I would have picked CM Punk.
Yeah.
To me, his two biggest rivals.
Yeah. Well,
so
and if you
I
look
think
at
that
his,
they've...
Right, if you look at his career of other rivals, you know, like Kurt Angle, I mean, he can't go anymore. So
Ooh, Mark Henry. Bring back the salmon jacket.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Bring back the salmon jacket.
You know what? Let's challenge, you know, everyone in the comments. You know, do some homework, do some research, really dig into the John Cena lore. Let us know what you think, and we're gonna do the same. We're gonna bring this one back up again next week. We're gonna do a little more homework and see. You know, Lincoln, The Rock. I like it.
That's why I said it. It's a little big. I mean, it's a little bit of a big thing, but then again, it is John Cena. So he does deserve whatever he wants. So if he has a person he's picked, I say whatever you want to do to put him in there. But like I said, I think if you were asking me storybook wise, if I was booking, the last match I would have thought would have been against Randy Orton or CM Punk, which it could be. Even though they've
It still could
wrestled, that doesn't mean it could be the last time. Because once again, those guys are, you know, the two biggest rivalries, if you will. Like you said, Kurt Angle could go on that list, but obviously, I don't know if he's really. I mean, I guess if he wanted one more in him, I mean, I'd love to see him. Like, if you wanted to book fantasy booking wise, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe do a Stone Cold Steve Austin. We never really got that.
Yeah.
Lincoln getting us started. Karrion Kross could be a great way to put him over. Maybe. I mean, I will say this: I was going to stay away from Karrion Kross. But all of a sudden, I saw that on September 21st, he's going to be in a match in Rahway, New Jersey. And I went, that doesn't look like 90 days. So who knows? Let's find out, we'll all find out together. But I'm like, that doesn't look like 90 days to me. Whatever. All right. Let's move right along, though. Let's get out of WWE for a little bit, though. And let's start off with the G1 Climax has come to a close. And this is a person that we both championed winning for a while, but the winner of the G1 Climax and will get his shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th from the Tokyo Dome. That's right. Takeshita wins the G1 Climax, and as of right now, will challenge Zack Sabre Jr. at the main event of Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome, January the 4th. Mind you, that could change for two reasons. One being that obviously Zack Sabre Jr. has to make it to the 4th as champion. Second reason is much like Zack Sabre Jr., remember when he won the G1 Climax, he cashed in early. In this case, I'm kind of hoping this doesn't happen, but there's a lot of real estate. So you could have Wrestle Dream. You could have this happen at All Out. Another big match there. However, I still kind of think that I want to see Takeshita get his flowers and main event the actual Tokyo Dome. So I hope he doesn't cash in early. That's my hopes. Sammy, your thoughts, and of course, chat, your thoughts on Takeshita winning a G1 Climax and earning the right to main event the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom.
Huge congratulations to Takeshita. This is a huge achievement for him. We championed him all along in this tournament, but just didn't believe it was really possible that anyone would actually, book him to win it. And not just because he's not capable or talented or anything. He's just been such this weird spot the last few years of like stop, start pushing, between, his stuff overseas and his stuff in AEW. So, kudos. I mean, some amazing matches along the way, some of the best of the tournament. And, now we have a few months to, hopefully a few months to really build something up to a big blow off, it'll be a lot of fun, I hope this does get leaned into a bit in AEW. That partnership is, between them and New Japan is important. So I hope this, bleeds into their storytelling as well. And yep, Lincoln, you're exactly right. He does deserve it. And so, I mean, this is going to be fun. Hopefully, like you said, it goes all the way and we get a lot of story out of this.
Kind of going a little bit more there, but yeah, I'm excited for Takeshita. I've said it before. So this is a big bucket of win. He is under for those people who are, there was some shots thrown like, and people say about WWE and TNA. The difference is Takeshita is under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is also under contract with AEW. He is also under contract with DDT. He has 3 contracts that Tony Khan allows him to have, which is fine. So it's not like he's not a New Japan talent. Yes, he has a little more exposure in the States in particular because he's in AEW, but that makes him more attractive. And honestly, we've said it before, Takeshita has all the tools. The one thing we've learned from Takeshita as a heel is that he has all the tools to get over in professional wrestling at any level and for any company. He would be over in WWE, I believe. I mean, he's a big guy. He's not a small wrestler. He's a big guy. He does really cool moves. Not like the flashy flipping stuff, which he does occasionally, but he's a power-based wrestler, which is kind of a throwback. And it's really a throwback to that old King's Road, fighting spirit style that New Japan was, and of course, All Japan was for so many years, that Peruso style that most of us who watch Japanese wrestling fell in love with. And so it's kind of nice to see that. And once again, had an amazing first round match, actually opening of the tournament match with him and Gabe Kidd. Unfortunately, Gabe Kidd got injured, but they had an amazing match showing that, hey, yeah, 2 guys going out there and beating the living hell out of each other still sells tickets. you know, at the end of the day. And that's what Takeshita brings to the table. And I hope, and with Lincoln says, I hope that they do keep the momentum going and they really push Takeshita. I think that they've been doing, and yes, he says, is an old soul in a new era. Absolutely. You can put him in all those talks with guys, legends. I think his style is very similar to Kenta Kobashi's. Very similar. Very power-based. Gets it done, but also exciting. He can make the crowd love him and he can make the crowd hate him, which is a really interesting tool because when he first came over, Takeshita was the Cinnabon guy. Great in the ring, but I always was like, oh man, how are you going to hate this guy who loves Cinnabon? You know what I mean? That was kind of like his thing when he first came over. And man, complete 180. He got over as a heel. He's gotten over as a face. I mean, I think that there's a lot of meat on the bones here. And I think if the partnership between AEW and New Japan is as strong as we all think it is, and we kind of know it is at this point, it might not be a bad idea to pull the trigger, make Takeshita the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and then strap the rocket ship to him and give him the AEW World Championship. Give them both. And really let's see where they go. They like belt collectors. They did it with Kenny Omega. They're currently doing it with Mercedes Moné. Only in this case, it would be 2 belts that mean a damn.
FTR, they belt collected, didn't they? Yeah, they did.
They belt collected, yep, a little bit. But because they were New Japan, they were IWGP World Tag Team Champions, Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, and AEW World Tag Team Champions at the same time. Yep. So once again, meaningful belts. You know, not taking any shots at Mercedes Moné, but you have 10 belts, and in 8 of them, I don't even know what the hell they are. So, and I watch a lot of pro wrestling.
This is true.
By the way, I still defend that decision. Smart on those companies to strap their title onto a huge star like Mercedes Moné. You don't get that opportunity often. And let's be honest, she's the biggest women's wrestling star outside of World Wrestling Entertainment. Bar none. Bar none. It's an argument that I will have with people if they want to have it. All right.
Who would you say is after her?
Whew. That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I know.
Only because I have a lot that I'm favorites of, but I don't know what their box office draw really is. I think Tony Storm probably.
Yeah.
If you're talking about box office draw alone, Tony Storm out. Yeah, actually, yeah. Tony Storm. If you're talking about talent as well, Tony Storm is amazing. The timeless gimmick has really been great. But outside of those two, it's harder because I think some people have had lack of pushes places. Where it would have elevated them more. I'm a big fan of Athena, big fan of Masha Slamovich, big Megan Bain, but 50-50 bookings kind of getting in the way there. There's a lot. And then if you can go into indies, I'm a big fan of Billy Starks, who I don't think has ever gotten her due in Ring of Honor or AEW. She's young, but there's just a lot of talent out there that I think, and there's a lot of don't get me wrong, there's a lot of talent in WWE that's not being used to their proper potential or even to the potential they could hit. So it's kind of one of those situations. But it is now time. We said we were going to give it to you. So we are going to give it to you. It is now time for us to go with the AEW X New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2025 pre-show extravaganza. And of course, Forbidden Door comes to you from the O2 Arena in wonderful, beautiful London, England. And I didn't get a shot of the O2, unfortunately. The O2 Arena in London, England, of course, it's this Sunday, August 24th, 2025. And 18,000 plus will be in attendance. 18,000 plus will be in attendance for Forbidden Door. Great turnout for the event. It does have a 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time, folks. I told Sammy to write it down to remind me. 1 p.m. Eastern is when it starts. So on Sunday, do not look for it at nighttime. It is on at 1 p.m. Eastern because it is from London, England. So, hey, I'm a fan of that. There is 9 matches as of us recording that are announced and set in stone. We will go over those. We will give our thoughts. We will give our picks. And of course, super chat. We want to hear from you. So jump on in as well. Sammy, are you ready to break down Forbidden Door?
Let's go. Let's kick it in.
All right. First of all, let's start off with a match that we kind of talked about. It's going to be the return of Edge and Christian, if you will, as Adam Copeland and Christian Cage will team up for the first time in a long time to take on former Patriarch members Kip Sabian, and now after the injury of course, the young prodigy himself, Killswitch is involved. We got Killswitch back. I don't know if they're calling Killswitch or Luchasaurus. They didn't really say, but either way, Luchasaurus / Killswitch is back. And this makes sense. Nick Wayne is out due to injury. So you might as well bring in somebody that makes a lot of sense here as a former member of the Patriarchy. So I'm not having a problem with this. Sammy, we got Cope and Christian back together. We got some interesting promos. I did like their promo on Dynamite, where Christian's basically like, I don't have to change a damn thing. And him and Cope are hopefully going to be on the same page. Who do you got walking out of Forbidden Door as your the winners here? And also, how do you think the tag team's going to go?
This is going to be a Luchasaurus and or Killswitch Kip Sabian win because of the, not being on the same page of Edge and Christian. I think that plays into the story better and allows for a much bigger, moment at the next pay-per-view. So yeah, I'm going with Killswitch and Kip Sabian. Plus that helps keep that story going for when Nick Wayne is healthy, because then he can do a proper blow off with Cage. So yeah, I'm sorry, Ken, you are incorrect. They are coming in with a loss.
I don't know. I am not thinking Ken's. I'm with Ken. Easiest lock of the week. Cope and Cage on their way to go to Toronto to get a shot at presumably the AEW World Tag Team Championships. I'm just saying, it makes more sense, because how are they going to end up against FTR?
Well, you got a couple of weeks to really build up some story to that, where they have to start working on the same page, win some tag team matches, get some sort of a number one contendership, and get in there. And that's where you could do the big moment. That's where you could do a Gangrel return. You could do a Rhino or return or something. Like, you could really lean into that Edge and Christian, tag team, of the early 2000s, but they're not there yet. Yeah, I don't think it's there. I think you don't get that until Toronto. I think that's going to be the big moment. You don't see that cohesiveness until then. That's what I think.
Ken M said what we were all thinking. Cope Hogan says different, brother. Not going to work for me, brother. I don't know. We'll find out. On Sunday. Going in no order. I know we're going to be talking about the main event stuff for a while, so I'm going to go out of order here and say the lights out steel cage match. Talk about that next. We got the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, teaming with Darby Allin, teaming with the Ace Hiroshi Tanahashi, and also the Billy Goat, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay, as they will take on the Death Rider, Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and of course, Gabe Kidd from the Bullet Club. This will be a lights out steel cage match. This is unsanctioned. And I knew we were going to devote some time to this one because I'm sitting on my couch, Sammy, on Wednesday, and I'm watching Dynamite. And I think it was great that we had Bryan Danielson open the show, got the crowd right into it, goes out to commentary, does a great job in commentary. Always nice to see the American Dragon. And then we get Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay comes out, and hey, he doesn't hide or sugarcoat anything. He basically tells the crowd he needs neck surgery. Says he's going to, before I go under the knife, I will take a pound of flesh from Jon Moxley. So saying the quiet thing out loud and saying he needs neck surgery. Also saying, and I understand this is part of the show, but also stated that they wouldn't clear him to wrestle. So that's why it's a lights out match. Granted, it makes sense to the story, but really, we had heard from his own mouth. I mentioned it last week, 2 weeks ago in an interview. He said that he still has times where his left hand, I do believe it was left. I don't think it was his right. I think it's his left, goes numb. He does have neck issues. I questioned how smart this is. I get that he's in London. I get that this is his hometown. But I really think that somebody should have saved Will Ospreay from himself. He's too big of a star. He's too young to make a decision that could possibly, because it's not like he's going to go out there and phone this in. This is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay doesn't phone it in, though. I mean, the only thing he's got going for him is that Darby Allin will probably take the cage dive.
Bingo.
Right, but that doesn't mean he's not going to do something in that cage. The whole point of the matter is he's not going to protect himself. And I'm really nervous that maybe it's a situation like Cody Rhodes when he destroyed the pec, that it can't get any worse. Maybe surgery is the only way to make it better. And they're already like, as long as you don't land on your neck, you'll be okay. Maybe that's what we're up against here. But if not, if it's any way that it could be made more serious, I made the comment to Ken M last night. I messaged him. I said, this is a good time where you tag in Bryan Danielson.
That's fair.
I understand that Will Ospreay doesn't want to not wrestle in front of his hometown, but this might be a time where you write him off. He gets jumped in the back and you insert the American Dragon. Because at least that way, and mind you, people would say, but he had to retire. No, he had to retire from full time. That was funny that they mentioned that on commentary, that like, oh, remember, you retired full time. His rebuttal should have been like, the key word is full time. That doesn't mean he can't wrestle again. So I still think that maybe if I'm, depending upon how bad the neck injury is, I might call the audible, because you don't need another Adam Cole situation. Quite frankly, we're also now finding out that Swerve Strickland has been wrestling on a torn meniscus since 2019 that needs surgery. So there's a lot of big stars that are wrestling injured. And I don't know if that's going to help the company in the long run, especially in a dogfight with WWE. So I'm going to go on the limb, and I'm going to say the faces are going to win this match, just because I feel like, why the hell not? We had the era of Moxley. Let's bury that era forever with a loss inside the cage. Give the win to, Kenny Omega, or hell, if you want to really surprise everybody, let the Ace get one final one over, because I'm assuming this will be his last Forbidden Door since he retires on January 4th. So I'm going to go with the faces winning in a big, nice move, but I'm just hoping, because as we pointed out, a lot of people in that match, they have some nagging injuries. I'm hoping everybody comes out the way they came in. At worst, if you will. Sammy, your pick, and of course, chat as well.
All right, well, I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to pick the faces to go over in this match, and I'm also going to predict that Darby Allin is the one who gets the biggest, brightest spot within the match. He'll do the dumbest thing, but I disagree about the Will Ospreay thing, and here's why. We talked about this before, that you do this type of match because you don't have to do all of the things in the ring in terms of wrestling that can be really dangerous. However, some of the other things you do involving weapons or cages and all that kind of stuff, that can be even more dangerous. However, it gives you the opportunity to also protect people as well. So here's the key thing. Wrestling for the past 2-3 years, even maybe a little longer than that, has become so social media driven and so moment driven. A year from now, what are we going to remember? What are we going to see on social media about this match? You're going to see the Will Ospreay entrance. You're going to hear the crowd going absolutely nuts. You're not going to remember a thing he did in that match. But that'll be the YouTube video that pops up when you look for this. It'll be Will Ospreay's entrance and that crowd going absolutely wild. And AEW is learning that's more important right now than the actual match itself. The moment, and that's why I feel he'll be in this match, and I don't think he'll do anything much of consequence, and I hope you're right. I hope it's the type of thing where, like, hey, you can't make it any worse. You do have to kind of protect yourself a little bit here, but you can't really make it any worse. But yeah, this match is gonna be about moments, and the two things you'll find will be Darby Allin doing whatever Darby Allin does, and you'll find that entrance of Will Ospreay in the crowd going absolutely bananas. That's wrestling in this modern era. It's moments.
I agree with the fact that people remember the entrance, because it's going to happen. However, people also remember the viral moment that probably Darby will cash in on. And the problem is, Will Ospreay's made a career out of trying to top the biggest moment. Mm-hmm. That is what Will Ospreay has done. Very successfully, let's be honest. I mean, he's one of the best in the world for no reason. There's a reason. He's one of the best in the world. And I love Will Ospreay. I love his work. I hope he's safe. I hope everything goes perfectly to plan. Problem is he's one of those guys that's going to go out there and try to take the moment. And I just hope that he can temper it. I hope that you can convince him that take the pop, have a good match, be safe, and powder as much as you have to. But I just fear that, knowing the performer that Will Ospreay is, he won't do that. Just like it's like telling Darby not to do something crazy in a match. When you said, oh, he's going to take the no, that in other news, water is wet because Darby's always going to take the biggest bump in a match. I mean, Darby broke out a flamethrower in a match. Like he's awesome at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason you were going to have him in this match is to do that crazy spot. However, let's hope it's not a one-upsmanship.
Well, and right, I think I'm hopeful that this is a moment in his career where he has learned a little bit more of a maturity-based thing where it's like, I'm going to go for the big viral moment. I'm going to have the best YouTube video numbers, and then I'm going to go into it next year in my hometown, in my home country, and I'm going to do an even better YouTube video, and I'm going to do even bigger and better things than anyone did in the match that I did last year. I think I'm hopeful because I think a lot of wrestlers do think that way now, and I'm hoping he's there as well. It's like, I can't do it here, but I can see what he did, and I can do it even better next year and just go even bigger and grander. And hopefully we have that.
Once again, I hope so. Hope so. All right, moving along. We have a 3-way tag team elimination match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Your champions, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, taking on Brodito, Brody King and Bandito, and of course, the FTR, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood. This went down as the Eliminator Tournament's finals, where FTR and Brodito would come to a time limit draw. And at the end of this, it was announced that, hey, yeah, it might be a draw, but we're going to have a 3-way elimination dance. So that means not one, but 2 pinfalls will be needed to become or retain the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Now, mind you, we were looking, you gave your eulogy for pro wrestling, tag team wrestling, as far as pro wrestling is concerned. However, honestly, on paper, pretty good damn tag team match here. Mm-hmm. Could this be the time that we see a hell of a tag team match steal the show at a major pay-per-view? Sammy, and who's going to win?
FTR is going to win this. And going along with everything we've talked about previously, with some serious injuries and some time off coming up for certain wrestlers, we're hopefully going to see the end of the Death Riders thing, which means some of those guys are going to take some time off. We know Will Ospreay's got an injury. We know Swerve Strickland's got some injury, and we have MJF in a big match potentially to win the belt. So maybe he wins it. Maybe he doesn't, and with the tag team belts now off the rest of the Hurt Syndicate here, they could maybe start going after that big championship, and then create a little dynamic there. You need to start putting some other people in the main event. The people that have been in the main event have been there for a long time, and this is where you do it. And on the flip side, you get FTR, and then you set up the match with Cope and Christian. So, makes a lot of sense.
Ken says Dax pins Bandito. Book it. Yeah. That's true, but then he has to also pin either Shelton Benjamin or Bobby Lashley because it's elimination style. This is an elimination 3-way. Very clear on that, which is awesome. I'm glad that they were very clear on that because sometimes we go into these things and I'm also agreeing with you. And new FTR, I think it sets up Toronto perfectly. Now, granted, you could do that. Cope and Christian cost FTR their match, their fourth. You could set it up without the titles because let's be honest, you don't have to have the belts on the line in Toronto. I think the match is big enough on its own. However, the belts being on the line is not a bad idea because if you are trying to, inject the tag division with, some adrenaline, and I'm not talking about just in your soul all the way around, you should, putting the belts maybe on Cope and Christian's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
One of the greatest tag teams of all time. I'm just saying, not a bad idea at all. It really does give a little shot there, and then you could do some really good matches. Young Bucks versus Cope and Christian comes to mind. You could also do Jet Speed versus Cope and Christian. I think that would be a great tag match. There's a lot of meat on the bones. A lot of meat on the bones with also a high-profile tag team champions, if you will. Yes. Speaking of somebody we mentioned already who's a little injured, the AEW Unified Championship will be on the line as your champion, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, will take on whose house? That's right. Swerve's house, Swerve Strickland, AEW Unified Championship is going to be on the line. This has some decent story. You, on paper, by the way, you have one of the best wrestlers in the world to this day still, and possibly one of the best of all time in Okada, taking on another wrestler who has definitely proven to be one of the best wrestlers in the world today, in Swerve Strickland. This is a main event quality match on any card, and we're going to get it in London, England for Forbidden Door. So with that being said, I get to go first here. Man, with knowing what we know, Swerve has not said he's going out. We just know that he's been suffering from a meniscus tear for the better part of 6 years. Yeah. At some point, you have to come off the treadmill and get that taken care of. If he gets it taken care of, it does not take you off the treadmill long. This would be a perfect timing. You would be back more than enough time to build for All In if you took care of it now. So I'm looking to see Okada go over here, retain the AEW Unified Championship, and possibly, maybe if we're getting some smart things and smart business here, possibly Swerve Strickland going out for a little bit to get that taken care of. Because I think he'll be back quicker if you do it that way. Now, with that being said, he's worked with it for 6 years, so you never know. Lincoln's agreeing with me. He's got Okada taking the win. But Sammy, what say you? Who's walking out of AEW's NJPW's Forbidden Door, your AEW Unified Champion?
No, I'm in agreement with everyone here. I think Okada goes over, and it's scary to think that so many of top talent take time off at the same time. That's a very scary thought, especially knowing that we have another pay-per-view of one of the most important pay-per-views of all time, to have these guys not be available for it. But we've talked about AEW and their bloated roster. We've talked about AEW and the guys who are not even on TV and haven't been on TV in a long time. It's a good way to pump up some ratings over the next couple of weeks, have some returns, and get that show red hot, So I'm hopeful that Swerve and the rest of AEW realize that. He takes the time off, comes back next year, ready to rip. And, Okada, has been a fun champion and can keep going on here.
Absolutely. Agree completely. Let's move right along to I said this once, I've said it a million times, and I will take the heat. But the AEW TNT Championship will be on the line as your champion, the definition of auraless in wrestling. The Protostar, Kyle Fletcher, takes on New Japan Pro Wrestling's ticking time bomb, Hamaru Takahashi. And let's be honest, I'm a big Takahashi fan. I have been for quite some time. Big LIJ fan, big time bomb fan. I hope he brings Daryl to Forbidden Door. For those who know who Daryl is, you'll be very excited if he does. With that being said, as we all know, nothing against his in-ring ability, because Kyle Fletcher can do all the moves and he does them well. But really, I still think that when you talk about somebody with no aura, you're looking at him. We know how he got his spot. We know that he's kind of like he was trying to do the rip-off Randy Orton business before, Miles Bourne came along and just pulls that card a little better. Not saying great, but a little better. Mm. I'm sorry. I don't know what he has to do, but I'm just not a huge gigantic. I'm not in that drink the Kool-Aid of Kyle Fletcher. There's far more people on this roster who should be getting this shot, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. However, I don't see the belt changing hands. Kyle Fletcher will still be and your AEW TNT champion, and I will still be saying that he has no aura. And some people will fight me on it. Some people will just go, it's not worth fighting for because it ain't wrong. Your thoughts, Sammy?
No, I'm in complete lockstep with you on that. Yeah, Kyle Fletcher's going to retain. It's getting those vibes of a company, and every wrestling company is guilty of this at one point. Of they have a shiny toy and they want that person to be the guy, and the fans are just not having it. And it's kind of how it feels with Fletcher here. That AEW really wants him to be a guy, and it's like, not going to work for me, brother.
Yeah.
And
we'll
he could.
Out.
He's got.
He could.
Are there, but he could. But when you force it,
he has to find a gimmick that works for him.
Yes.
And being Will Ospreay Jr. doesn't work. You know, being a light version of the Legend Killer.
No.
Yeah, I think he has to find his niche. And like I said, he's a fine wrestler in the ring. I've never disputed that.
No.
But once again, you can do all the moves, and it doesn't mean that, you know, you're the guy. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a real forbidden door here. Because man, when you talk about opening a forbidden door, the AEW TBS Championship match is a 4-way match, and it's really opening up because your AEW TBS champion, it's like, I think we're up to 10 belts, Mercedes Moné, taking on, representing All Elite Wrestling, Alex Windsor, representing CMLL, Persephone, and representing Stardom, Bozilla. So we've got 4 women, 2 of which, of course, hey, Lincoln, do not hate Daryl. Daryl is amazing. Stop it. Stop it. I know we're going off track there because he's now hating on Daryl. But anyways, going back to the women's match, really, you have 2 representatives of AEW, which is fine, Alex Windsor, who has wrestled everywhere, and Mercedes Moné. But CMLL, Stardom involved, some big names. This is a real heavy hitter match, real Forbidden Door type of match. Sammy, who do you think's walking out of Forbidden Door? Your AEW TBS champion.
You know, you did a real good job building up this match. You did a really good job setting up and talking about the stakes. But Mercedes Moné is retaining. Come on.
Yeah. What are we joking ourselves? Mercedes will win. Mercedes, you know, there used to be a thing called Hogan has to pose. Mercedes has to dance.
Yeah.
And once again, for those people who hate it, that's fine. I understand it. I've said it time and time again. Biggest star that's not signed to World Wrestling Entertainment in the women's division.
And that's
her and Tony Storm.
Right? And that's actually part of it. They kind of want you to hate it. She's supposed to be the bad guy. So, like, hello. It's Wrestling 101.
All the belts, Moné.
Yeah.
All the belts, Moné. The next one, though, has a more interesting side to it because the AEW Women's World Championship will be online. This is for Athena's Casino Gauntlet. She cashed it in for this. So your champion, Timeless Tony Storm, will take on the Ring of Honor Forever champ, Athena, for the AEW Women's World Championship. This goes down in London. We had been forever talking about Athena maybe not getting her just due. I did feel very slighted for her when she took on Mercedes Moné in the opening round of the Owen Hart Cup, which I think that was, that should have happened there. Maybe the finals, but not in the opening round. No. But she gets her due. She won the women's casino gauntlet match. She is the number 1 contender. She's getting the shot here. And we have 1 of 2 things that can happen, Sammy, and I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. This is why I kept saying All Out is set up pretty for AEW. We assume that Mercedes Moné will walk out still your AEW TBS champion with all 10 of her belts. That means that the winner of this match, whether it be Tony Storm or Athena, very likely will take on a challenging Mercedes Moné at All Out, especially with all the stakes on the line. Be a smart move. Now, my logical booking brain goes to this. As much as I love Timeless Tony Storm, she's had the belt for a while. She's had a hell of a run. She always will because, let's be honest, there might not be a better gimmick in the women's division of all of wrestling than the Timeless one. However, the Timeless one doesn't need a belt. The Timeless one is an attraction on her own. I think she's leapt to that next level. That's rarefied air. That's Becky Lynch territory as far as women's division, where, yes, she's the Intercontinental Champion, but technically she doesn't need a belt. No. Doesn't need a belt to get over. So I think that that's rarefied air, and I think that Tony Storm is there. With that being said, what makes Athena winning attractive is that Athena would not have just 1 belt. She would have 2. And that means at All Out, you would have Mercedes Moné, 10 belts Moné, taking on 2 belts Athena. And if you pull the trigger, you will end with 12 belts Moné, which is very likely. And so I'm going to pick Athena because booking wise, I'm like all the belts all the time. If we're doing belt collecting, What's the way to get more belts on Mercedes? And in this case, belts that make it mean a damn in AEW, the Ring of Honor title, women's title, and also the AEW Women's World title. So I'm going to say Athena will become and your new AEW Women's World Champion at Forbidden Door. Unfortunately, she'll probably lose the belt and the Ring of Honor title at All Out, but it is what it is. Sammy, your thoughts?
No, I hate to keep agreeing with you here. We're supposed to, have a little bit of differences here, but no, I'm agreeing with you on this. And for Toni Storm, it's an opportunity for her to go back and work on some of the other storylines she's told in the past, and really help elevate some of the other AEW women's talent, because at that top of the card now, it's a little thin. There's plenty of great people, but in terms of where they are in their character and their win-loss totals and everything, that they're not there. So Toni Storm can help with that, because she is probably, I don't know, AEW's most dynamic character overall, and her in-ring work is phenomenal. So yeah, I think she can go help, the whole women's division doing, other things besides just having a title.
All of it speaks for itself. I agree with you. All of it. All right. Got 2 matches left. Next up, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as your champion, Zack Sabre Jr. will take on, speak of a hell of a match, the man that's in it to win it, Nigel McGuinness. He'll have Daniel Garcia in his corner. Nigel McGuinness in England is getting a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. It is nice to see Nigel come back from time to time. Once again, another one of those vets who still has it. Now, granted, I think it's because he had those long gaps because of, different health reasons of not wrestling. I think that the wear and tear has kind of allowed him to, when he returns, to give him the lack of wear and tear, I should say, has allowed him to get a little more mileage when he returns. But it's still great because Nigel McGuinness was always a great technical wrestler, still has it. Now he's going in there in a lot of ways against a man who kind of took that mantle. Zack Sabre Jr. is known as the technical wizard, the best technical wrestler in the world. Nigel McGuinness at one point in juncture was that, especially those of us who remember the height of him in Ring of Honor and such, when Nigel was the best in the world. And I don't even think it was an argument. He was really considered the best in the world. It went from Bryan Danielson to Nigel McGuinness at that point in juncture, and for great reason. So now we get that dream match. And I know that they've mixed it up once before, but we get the dream match here for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. By the way, both Zack Sabre Jr. and Nigel McGuinness are from England. So this is a battle of English gentlemen taking on and challenging each other for the richest prize in all of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Once again, I'm not going to bear the lead. I think Zack Sabre Jr. walks out and still.
Yeah.
But I think the fans will win here because I'm looking forward to an amazing. Now, if you find technical wrestling boring, this might not be the match for you. But if you're one like myself who loves really good technical wrestling, this could be the match of the night right here. Because I think Nigel McGuinness is going to put on a hell of a performance. And we know Zack Sabre Jr. will put on a hell of a performance. And we're going to end up with a really damn good classic here. But I think, and still, for Zack Sabre Jr. at the bottom line. Sammy, chat, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll be pretty brief. It's going to be and still. I think you're right. This has the opportunity to steal the show, especially to an English crowd who loves that style of wrestling. But I think both of them will lean into some of that that English sort of striking / hard hitting style as well. So I think you'll get a little of that blended into that as well to really play up to their crowd. And Nigel, I hope you do DDPY because you're going to need it after this match. You are going to get all kinds of holds and stretched and everything. I hope you're limbered up for it because this is going to be a lot for you.
It's going to be a good one. All right. Brings us to the main event of the evening for the AEW World Championship. Your champion, Hangman Adam Page, defending against the winner of the 2025 Casino Gauntlet match, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. But after Dynamite, which I know some people did not like this, but I did. After Dynamite, we got some interesting news. So if you didn't watch Dynamite this past week, you missed the MJF using Ricochet in the Gates of Agony, not the Hurt Syndicate, which is kind of interesting, the group he's in, using Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, they kind of forced the hand of one Hangman Adam Page by taking Mark Briscoe hostage and dumping gasoline over his head and threatening to light him on fire if Hangman Adam Page did not agree to 3 stipulations. Stipulation 1, the title can change hands by disqualification. Stipulation 2, the title can change hands via countout. And stipulation 3, and probably the most creative one, in my opinion, out of all of them, is that this match for the AEW World Championship is not the cash-in of MJF's Casino Gauntlet contract. Remember, Hangman Page outsmarted MJF, got him to cash it in, got him to schedule a match. MJF showing that he is the devil and he is always playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers, now reclaims his right. Now, you could end up with some interesting booking here. Obviously, MJF loses the match. He has another shot at it whenever he wants. Or if MJF loses the match and they beat down Hangman Adam Page, technically MJF could take a second shot at Forbidden Door. So this has got to be, in theory, Hangman Adam Page may have to defeat MJF not once, but twice at Forbidden Door to walk out as the AEW World Champion. It leaves a lot, like we talked about in the past, especially in WWE lately, about booking themselves in a corner. Believe it or not, I had said this in the past for AEW a bunch. There's a lot of times where like Tony Khan booked himself into a corner. This is one of those times where Tony Khan did not book himself in the corner because there's a lot of things you can do here.
Mm-hmm.
Booking yourself in the corner means that you have one thing to do and one thing only, or else it's going to be bad. In this situation, there's a lot of meat on the bone. Because once again, MJF loses, and he decides not to cash in, or the cash in gets foiled, so he lives to cash in another day. Or he can cash in and win. So we don't know if we're going to get a 1-fall AEW World Championship match or a 2-fall, which is good for business, in my opinion. But I can give my pick on purpose because I'm going to give it to you first, Sammy. You get to go first. Who's walking out of Forbidden Door? Your AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
You know, I don't love the move because I think it deflates a lot of what happened with, the previous booking of this belt, but I see MJF walking out with that belt. I don't love it just because it really deflates, the already deflated Death Rider story that was finally overcome with Hangman and everything he went through in that match to get the belt. But with the opportunity to get 2 matches, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and Ricochet now apparently waiting in the wings to, get involved and really take out Hangman. I just don't see how you book around that. So MJF, maybe he has to cash in. I think that'd be good. Get rid of that. We've talked about that. We're kind of tired of the Money in the Bank contract type stuff. We're kind of all sick of it. So hopefully that gets that removed as well. So, but yeah, MJF walks away with the belt at the end of the night.
I can see it. I'm going to go the other way. I think Hangman Adam Page retains. I think that it'll be a failed cash-in. I don't know if he'll get the cash-in off. That's the question. That's the question I have. Whether they pull the trigger completely and he gets the cash-in off and it gets foiled, or if he gets cut off before. But I feel like there are going to be some smash. I feel like maybe Mark Briscoe will get involved. I feel like that'll bring out Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. And I think that brings out the Hurt Syndicate, fresh off of losing the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And I think this is where, because of the disrespect of not coming to the Hurt Syndicate with the issues, I think this could set up a little program between one Bobby Lashley and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And we can go forward looking at possibly a Bobby Lashley and Hangman Adam Page feud as well. But I think he has to stop MJF, whether that is with the contract already on the line or not. So that's why I said you can still flip a coin here.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think it's a good idea when you don't know what's going to happen, because there's viable options in every direction.
Listen, Cope could still win it somehow.
Cope has a contract somewhere. You know, it's not going to work for me, brother.
Mercedes Moné, she walks away with the belt. You just never know.
WrestleMania, it could be WrestleMania 9 before it's all over.
Yeah.
You know, Cope comes out to aid an injured Adam Page, and he tells him, go to the ring. He beats MJF in 5 seconds, and
he has a new theme
MJF
song.
goes in him with a belt, hits him with a spear. 1, 2, 3, boom.
New theme song, Real Canadian.
I am a real Canadian. Drink maple syrup right out of the jug. Yeah, it could be good. It could work. It could work. It could work. Anyways, in all kings aside, Forbidden Door on paper is looking like a hell of a card. We said that last week. I still contain that this week. I hope they don't add too much more. You know, a few matches in the pre-show, but a 9-match main card is more than enough. Especially though the quality of matches they're giving you. So I really believe this is some good quality match.
You know, I think one of the key things that, you know, we talked about here and other commentators are talking about as well. Think about all the storyline stuff that we talked about here for the past, 40 minutes and even over the past few weeks. We talked about a lot of storyline. That's important for AEW because they have struggled with it in the past, and they're doing a lot better. And they deliver with the matches, but maybe they'll deliver with the stories too. And then they're off to the races then. So
right on. Well, with that, that's going to bring us to the end here. It's up in the air. I don't know if there'll be a separate post-show recap. If not, the post-show, the recap of Forbidden Door will be on next week's Wrestling Night Live. But once again, with me going out of town because of a death in the family, I don't know what the timing is on me recording something, or even when I don't know if I'm even going to be able to watch Forbidden Door live. I'm probably going to be watching a replay just because I'll probably be traveling back around the time that Forbidden Door is on. Not because I want to, but because, things happen. So chances are we'll probably just be recapping it next week on Wrestling Night Live. Not because we don't want to, but because I just don't know the timing with the personal stuff going on. So hopefully everybody understands that. Thank you so much for understanding, where we're at here. But I implore you once again to make sure you go over to nerdinitiative.com. Check out the TV, movies, and wrestling sections. Also, make sure you check out the hardest working comic books in the business right now, because there's nobody doing new comic book day reviews like nerdinitiative.com. On top of that, I hope you, if you are not watching us on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, or X, make sure you're following us on all the great social media places. But get on over to the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. Smash the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and of course, hit that thumbs up to let the GEO Michael know you want more pro wrestling and content, period, on the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. So yeah. And also while you're there, you're going to want to tune into all the live great stuff we have every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Play for Keeps. Tom and Mickey talking all things toys this past week. Micro Machines, by the way. Very good. Go check that out. They've got a lot of great stuff that they talked about on Play for Keeps. And of course, then Tuesdays, the official kickoff for New Comic Book Day as Turn a Page is live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. This past week, 100th Turn a Page. So 100 episodes of Turn a Page on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. So congratulations for that. I unfortunately had to miss that show, but had a great conversation with Matt Groom. And of course, you're not going to want to miss the 101st episode this upcoming Tuesday. Stay tuned for who will be there. And last but not least, of course, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself and Sammy talking all things pro wrestling on Wrestling Night Live. So make sure you're checking out all that great stuff. But until we meet again to talk all about what happened at Forbidden Door. And of course, we're getting ready to gear up for Clash in Paris and everything else that might happen in the world of pro wrestling. For myself, for Sammy, for the rest of the Nerd Initiative team. Thank you once again for tuning in. Hopefully you will join us next week when we talk more pro wrestling on Wrestling Night Live. But until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, later, wrestling fans.